Aloha, everybody, and welcome to The Joystick Show, a podcast where three friends from high school in Hawaii get together every week to chat about the latest news and reviews from pop culture that are bringing us joy. I'm Thomas, and Drake and Scott ran into some technical difficulties, so they couldn't be here. So, being the hero that he is, not all heroes wear capes, Frank from Geek Freaks and from Challenge Accepted is here filling in. Frank, thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm not from Hawaii. I have visited. I went to the Pro Bowl in Honolulu, so...
Oh, dude, you're local.
Yeah, I'm an adopted son.
yeah, you are. You're Kama'aina as long as you're with us, man. You're good to go. But yeah, we are going to have a big show for you guys tonight. We are talking about New York City Comic-Con. We got some Invincible news. We got a little bit of Warhammer. I'm not going to deep dive into that. We got some Arcane Season 2 stuff, and then the reviews that you guys have all been looking for. We got Agatha Episode 6, The Penguin Episode 4, and I want to say that's it for me because I didn't get to Shrinking Season 2 yet, and I want to.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's a lot to watch right now. We are living good times, guys.
Yeah, we are. Definitely. So, but we also have some good stuff coming up. And let's dive into New York City Comic Con because that was happening this past weekend. And man, I'm so jealous I wasn't there. I don't know, how do you feel about it?
Like, it's funny how, okay, so we all know San Diego Comic-Con is like the Comic-Con, right? But there are people vying for that title. And New York Comic-Con is really swinging hard lately. What I love, too, is like all the announcements are comic book announcements that I've been seeing. Some really big hitters that are like, I cannot wait to check out Dr. Doom and stuff like that next year. It's all good stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well said. DC had a ton of announcements. Marvel had a ton of stuff that we'll get into. And yeah, there was like a little bit of MCU news. There was a little bit of DCU news kind of sprinkled in there. I think we got some secret level, but is there any three things that stick out to you? Like, what would you say like your top three announcements from this weekend were?
All right, let's break that down. So we have, let's go with World Emperor Dr. Doom. And I was telling my buddy about this. I'm like, anytime Dr. Doom I see him in the UN, I am buying that comic book. Yeah. And right away, like, here's the cover art. It's him yelling at the other nations. And the tagline on this is like, some of the other nations, some of the other heroes are like, is it so bad that he runs the world? Yes, that's cool. That gives you Civil War vibes, right? Where it's like, there's a yes and no on that. So, and he has, after the events of the recent, he has the Sorcerer Supreme title he took away from Doctor Strange. So he's even more powerful right now. And yeah, that's going to be good stuff.
Damn, man, you sold me on that. I saw the cover of it, but I didn't deep dive into it. And it just looks so awesome. Like, they even had another painting up of Doom on, like, a dinosaur. Like, the Dino Doom.
Yeah.
Dude, it just looks so badass. And Doom is obviously one of the greatest villains. So, man, you totally sold me on that. On the comic front, for me, I think Ultimate Wolverine. Just the way he looks, right? Yes. We got CB Sapolsky, or I think that's how you say it, or Kapolsky. I've never know how to say that, but he's been running the X-Men line forever, since like the Krakoan era. And then a new writer to the series, Chris Condon. I think he did the Venom Wars kind of run. But a part of this, we were getting like Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, and then the Wolverine. But let's talk about the Wolverine. What was your take?
There's one of the covers where it's him walking through the snow, and you see like the like steam coming off. I'm like, here's all my money. I need that. I need that poster. That's amazing,
right. Dude. Yeah, it's also funny. Like, this is just a thought I just had because I was like, man, he looks so badass, like fully an assassin. Yeah. And I think that has something to do with the storyline. They're kind of like, from what I understand, he's almost going to be like a Winter Soldier version. Like, his memory is wiped, and then there's a certain council. Yep. That's involved that's kind of brainwashed him, which they also kind of did in the Krakoa era too. But, him just being like a silent assassin, like a Terminator, is so badass. But the other thing is, I like how he's black and red. He kind of gives me almost like Deadpool vibes, but like more ninja-y.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He just looks so cool.
Yeah, he actually, now that you mentioned the ninja-y thing, it also reminds me of when he goes to Japan, there's kind of the sleek lines that we like from that kind of a thinner, faster Wolverine, and instead of the sometimes bulkier punch through a tree Wolverine,
Yeah, you're right. Like tankier one. You're right. This Wolverine fast and silent is like the scariest thing in the world.
So good. You already imagine that jump where he's got his like claws ready to go.
I know, but just imagine down on top of your head. No words. You just can't say anything. This is going to be cool. I'm super on board with this. And this looks like it's coming out in January. I'm not sure for the rest of the comics, but it's interesting. They also said the maker. And if I'm not mistaken, the maker is an alternate version of the Reed Richards. So that's another thing where I'm like,
Okay.
ooh, how are they tying this in? But yeah, I like the Ultimate series. I've got to dive into it more. I don't know it, but like the premise being that if this was a modern day restart of the entire universe, this is how it would look. And I really dig that idea. So I probably have to jump into this beginning next year.
I know that there's a lot of fans of the Ultimate Spider-Man that's going on right now, where it's kind of a Family Man version of Peter Parker. I do need to jump into it as well. It is hard because there's so many comic books, and I'm kind of in the world of indie comics right now, just trying to keep up on all those.
Totally.
It's tough out there, folks. But over on DC, they have their answer to the Ultimate, and it's the Absolute line that they're doing right now.
Ooh, yeah.
The pitch on that is, what if why can't what is it? Oh my god, why can't I think of his name? I'm so sorry.
I only know the Bruce Wayne of it all, and like that absolute Batman story. That's like the only thing I'm familiar with right now, because he looks, talk about a tank. That guy looks like the Juggernaut, but
7
as
feet
Batman.
tall in suit. Yeah. So his whole thing is like, what if Batman wasn't rich? Superman's thing is, what if he was raised on Krypton? And so his justice version isn't necessarily because I'm an American boy guy. It's like, I can never let Krypton happen again to another planet. And then for Wonder Woman, it's what if she was raised in hell and not on Themyscira? So she's battle princess all the way through. Yeah.
Wow.
We got 3 new titles though announced for the Absolute line. We have Manhunter, Martian Manhunter, which is a Martian now kind of like embody somebody. Right? What's that?
That's your boy, right? Martian Manhunter.
He is. I don't care for that version. I'm one of the only people that's less excited about that. I love me some Flash, and the new Absolute Flash looks insanely good.
Yeah. I know, it kind of has like a anime-ish look to me.
But it does, right?
Yeah, but like the Speed Force kind of looks different too, which I really dig. Yeah, just like extra details in the art and everything. I'm excited to read the Flash. That looks really freaking cool.
It looks good. I love how you could tell like one of the things that's going on with this version of Flash is they're leaning into the Speed Force because he's not able to keep his corporeal form very well while he's in it, and that is like some very deep kind of Flash story right there, where he becomes part of the Speed Force, he gets lost in or something like that. You can tell they're starting with that kind of level of Flash. That's always fun. And then we also have a new Green Lantern too.
Really?
And so it's,
baby.
And this Green Lantern did the Urban Batman stuff. Or I'm sorry, the artist for this one did the Urban Batman line.
Nice.
That's Janoid Lindsay and fantastic work. So it's gonna be good times at DC.
Heck yeah. Is it like a completely brand new Green Lantern character, or are they pulling a character from, the original line?
I believe it's in a completely new Green Lantern. I could be wrong.
Ooh, okay. That's pretty cool. All right. You got me excited about that. I'm going to have to check that out. Sticking with DC, though, I think the other thing that I really dug, and we kind of got a little bit of a look at it, was Creature Commandos. And
yes,
you and I both know this is the hard launch of the DCU. James Gunn has went out and said online, like, I put my heart and soul into this project. I mean, of course, Superman is coming up. I did the same thing, but I needed to make sure this was going to pop off. And that trailer was so cool. I really dug. Yeah, I just really dug these like oddball characters. It kind of gives me like, what was that other DC show where they're all kind of misfits? I'm trying to think.
It kind of gives like a
Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of Doom Patrol, but it looks like it's not shying away from the violence, and like there's like an Invincible level animation to it, and
yep.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the trailer for Creature Commandos?
I mean, we are so spoiled right now with the animation in the animation world. It's such a good time. And this is just going to be adding to my normal rotation of amazing things to watch. We know that James Gunn is really great at that found family misfit storylines, right? We got Guardians of the Galaxy. We've seen it with Suicide Squad, Creature Commando, sure. And with this one, you cannot get that universal monster feel where it's like, that's Frankenstein, that's werewolf. I think there's something of like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen vibe going into this that's just going to make this feel unique and familiar. I'm all on board.
That's such a good point. Yeah, because I really do want this to be different than his version of the Suicide Squad.
Right.
And it has to be different than Doom Patrol. So I like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen call out. Like, I was a fan of that movie. I know not everybody loves it, but I loved it. I dug that. Yeah.
I really wish they were as a franchise, and I think if it were to come out today, they would try to make it a franchise because everything's the MCU. So, totally. But I think that would be really fun to try out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, but this version looks really freaking cool too. We get Rick Flag Senior, we get Doctor Phosphorus, a GI robot. Again, very Doom Patrol ish, but I feel like he's also gonna do something sneaky and kind of add in like bigger characters in the story somehow. Like they're gonna be way out of their depth. But all of a sudden, a villain of Superman is going to be there, or a villain of Green Lantern, or something behind the scenes.
Close. There's early rumors that David Cornsweet's going to be voicing something. He's going to be voicing Superman in there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, yeah.
This is going to be so sick. We're going to definitely, I think, be covering it on Challenge Accepted as well, right?
I think that's an easy one, yeah. For sure.
Okay. All right. Yep. Follow us over on Challenge Accepted if you want up-to-dates on all the new Poppin' shows, especially Creature Commandos. Yes. And, yeah, I think the last thing, Secret Level is not what I want to end on. I think I will end on this. First, Secret Levels as like the bonus thing because I'm super excited about this. They, I guess, released all of the cast that's going to be in it. It's wild. There's so many impressive people. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kevin Hart, Keanu Reeves, Tamora Morrison, all these ridiculous actors. But
that was a leak. They had to force to admit that because it was a leak first. And they're like,
really?
All these guys are coming out. And so that was kind of a cool little benefit to all of us, like, sweet.
Okay, I was wondering about that because it was like I saw something Secret Level pop up, but then I also saw something that was like leaked voice actors list, and they just went out and announced it to the
They
crowd.
Confirmed it. Yeah, they're like, this is the crew.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's all. Is there any games in Secret Level you're looking forward to the most?
Oh,
like an
God.
episode?
What's nice is it's such a wide array of games that there is no one particular one. I think there's a God of War mentioned in there. I think that's probably... And I was just telling somebody today, actually, I think it was my mom, because she was like, I can't believe this is based on a video game. And I'm like, there's some really good stories. And I was explaining how good the God of War story is, his father's son. And so I think there's going to be a little hint to that, which would be nice.
Sweet. That's going to be amazing. Yeah, I think Ghost of Tsushima's in there. Ninja Gaiden maybe too. Like... There was like a Pac-Man thing too, so I think they could probably do a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
But and then the last thing for me, because I'm very curious how this is gonna go, but no, I'm just gonna mention this too. This isn't it either. This isn't the top three. I will say, what do you think about Kraven? Because Aaron Taylor Johnson came out on stage looking jacked. I don't have any faith in this movie. Do you?
I couldn't care less about this movie.
Yeah.
Get ready for us to be hyped about it on Challenge Accepted, though, guys. We're going to probably talk about it because we got to give it a shot, right? I mean, like, this is kind of so. It feels like, doesn't it feel like this is like Sony's last chance?
This is
and it's even
the
last chance to like,
sunset.
shoot, we already made it.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. The director came out and said, though, like, yes, there's Rhino in there, but there's going to be more characters that we're pulling in. I don't know if that's just one of those things where we're getting, like, an Uncle Ben who's way younger, and then, like, a Peter's mom who never says Peter. I don't know if it's one of those things, or if we're actually getting, like, a bunch of different characters from Spider-Man in it.
Well, the fact that he has to say, like, guys, we promise there's more people than just Rhino, is because people are already bashing this thing from the trailer that showed Rhino. And it's like, that might be a Spider-Man villain we just stopped trying to make, because clearly it never works. And let's get Kraven done. Let's get Venom 3 out of the way. They're already talking about making like a null universe. Don't do that. Just move forward after this.
Yeah, wait till Tom Holland says yes to Spider-Man 4 and then start telling me about your plans. Because if he's not in it.
On that, he got the script for Spider-Man 4. He says he likes a lot of it, that there's some things to tweak, there's things to work on, but him and Zendaya both really liked it, like the core of it. So I was like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, that was really good. And he talked about it on Rich Roll's podcast and stuff, and I'm like halfway through it, but man, is it incredible. Like, he talks about the year he took off from acting after No Way Home, and then going from just doing stage acting to then all of a sudden being with Robert Downey Jr. The kid's lived an incredible life, but he's just so grounded and smart, and I know he's going to want to do right by everybody, and like the characters for Spider-Man 4. So I'm just happy he's so stoked to continue doing it. Because he could easily be like, peace, I've made my money. I want to be like a serious actor or whatever. But it seems like he really has fun doing those movies and playing that character. It's so cool.
He's a very good young actor, too. The Andrew Garfield of it all, too. Both of them, actually. I love them so much in everything they do that I'm cool with them taking their time because I don't want them to get burnt out.
Yeah.
So, that being said, this is one of those things where I mentioned it on Challenge Accepted and you're always like, what? So, just preemptive that. I've never seen Amazing Spider-Man. So, the Andrew Garfield stuff.
Yeah. You know what? I don't blame you.
I was
for
a
that.
boycotter at the time, so that's why.
Yeah, you know what? I don't blame you on that because I wasn't a fan of it either when it first came out. I was like, this isn't Peter Parker. I'm like, he's too cool. And I didn't like that. But, you know, in later years, he was a great probably one of the best Spider-Man, you know.
And I love Andrew Garfield ever since then too, like the actor himself, and I really do need to watch it. My big thing was like, where's Spider-Man 4? Why do we got to get rid of Toby? He's still good.
Right.
And, you know, it's calm down. Like, nowadays I look back at them like, that's the kind of guy I hate nowadays. That's on Threads, you know, tweeting or something like that.
That sounds like a challenge, though.
Yes. I want to throw my last thing in real quick is that DC announced Hush 2, which is one of Batman's best recent stories. If you guys have seen the Hush animated movie, it's very good. It has a different ending than the comic book. The comic book, I feel, is a better ending. But it is so good. It's a fast read, or it's definitely worth the watch either way. And the fact that we're bringing Hush 2 in is good. And a lot of people are saying the Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman sequel should be Hush. I definitely can see that happening. To me, Hush and Court of Owls is the best thing out of Batman in the last 20, and Bat Family out of the last 20 years.
All right. That's quite the take. That's quite the take, my man. Yeah, I've definitely... actually, Hush is like one of the series I've never read, and like I always see it. Like if you're on Reddit and you're in the forums, everyone's like, "Dude, they got to do that storyline," and it's one of those things I have to add there. But in like we were reading like Batman Zero Year and Batman The Long Halloween and stuff, and those are pretty fire too. But I know Hush is up there, so I gotta like educate myself with that.
Yeah.
Does that have anything? Does Hush have something to do with the Court of Owls?
No.
Oh, interesting.
No.
All right.
Hush is, that's what I love. Is Hush feels like it's like a Batman animated series for adults. It's its own story, its own villain, and it has like some stuff to do with the Riddler. But it is super good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. I got some homework to do. The one last thing I want to leave on because it was so exciting. Everybody was surprised that they were there. Was Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox came out and did a kind of impromptu talk about Daredevil. And we actually got a date for it. I'm like trying to scroll through here right now to find out. March 4th, 2025. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else that I kind of picked from the little bit of the interview I saw. But basically they were just talking about the suit color and then the date. And I'm pumped. I don't know what else to say. Like, what do you think?
Especially after Agatha All Along, like Disney Plus has restored a little bit of that faith, and so I'm here for it. And then they had the suits too, actually, the mannequins with the suits on at NYCC, and they just look so good. They look comic book accurate while still feeling like they didn't ditch Netflix. This is looking really good, and March is right around the corner. We're gonna get to that in no time.
Man, yeah, that's crazy. Well, yeah, I think that hit some of the heavy hitters from NYCC. We gotta go. We gotta figure out how to go one time. I had to try to make LACC again next year too, but that's a different story for another time. All right. So, what's that?
That's just the LACC. That's what a time that was for us to try to that was a mess.
That was a mess. Behind the scenes, outside the podcast, man. God. Schedules were crazy. All right. So we got a new show, or I guess an older show that's back. They just dropped episode 1 of season 2. It's called Shrinking. It's on Apple TV. And honestly, it's like one of those feel-good comedies that I just love. To me, it feels like a little bit more adult than Ted Lasso, but still gets you in the feels the same way. And even with one episode dropping, they've already renewed it for a season 3. I'm stoked as I'm in my rewatch right now. I haven't got to the first episode yet, but man, such a delightful show. I love it. Have you watched Shrinking?
I have not. It is definitely on my to-do list. There's something about Apple TV where they're like, we'll just throw a lot of money out to buy the best actors and the best scripts. And will we make any money from the show? Probably not. Doesn't matter. We just want the quality lineup. And this is one of those things too. And hopefully it gets more attention because now Apple is working with Amazon to offer Apple TV through Amazon Prime, so hopefully more people see Shrinking and Severance and things like that.
Yeah, it has Harrison Ford in there, and honestly, Harrison Ford is the funniest part of the whole show for me. He gets the best lines. He's he's what you would imagine Harrison Ford is like, but as a therapist, super grumpy, doesn't really like anybody, but is just full of wisdom, and that's who he is. And I just saw an interview because Jason Segel was on the Today Show. And they were like, "Oh, how the hell did you get Harrison Ford to come be on the show?" And so he's like, "Well, we went to pitch him, or one of the producers went to pitch him, and basically said like he wasn't familiar with me, he didn't know who I was. So they said you should watch Forgetting Sarah Marshall." And so he's like, "All right, okay, sure, whatever." So it turns out he goes to watch it. He texts the producer back. He goes, "I'm in. Period. By the way, nice dick." Period. Yeah. and so apparently Jason Segel has that text from the producer printed and hung up on it in his house from Harrison Ford. But they have this great relationship. He's the son he never wants. He's always kind of pushing him to do things he doesn't want. But it's good for Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford obviously is pushing him to be better, to be a better person, to get over his trauma and everything. But man, it's a great show. I'm digging it. You got to watch it.
I definitely want to. One of the things, my apprehension, I think, stems from, because I love Siegel, but Harrison Ford, he's always grumpy, and I kind of hate to watch him and stuff nowadays, just because that old man version of him really starts to stick out. Like, I love 90s Harrison Ford when he was in all kinds of great movies and stuff like that, but then he got more and more grumpy, and then as you're older, too, you start to see those interviews, those early interviews of him talking about Star Wars, where he was like a mancy.
Right.
And so you kind of get that kind of mindset for him, so... Yeah, I need to watch it, but I am kind of like, all right, Harrison, just retire.
Yeah. No, I will say, like, the first time I watched it, like, the first couple episodes, I was like, man, he's such a dick. But then as it went on, and then now, after you see where he starts and where he ends up, you're like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, I appreciate this. And now the second time I'm rewatching it all the way through, it's just like, he's so funny. You're like, if you were just a fly on the wall to watch him say these things to these people, you would crack up. It's just your angry grandpa who's still so quick-witted. Oh man, it's perfect for him. It's perfect for him. And they allow people to also like give it back to him, where he's not just dishing it out. He has to take some of it. It's awesome. That's cool. He's a fantastic part about it. We're getting more Shrinking, so hopefully you can start season 1. This sounds like a watch recommendation Monday I should do, but it's it's a great show.
Yeah, I will be checking it for sure.
Right on. Okay, I'm just gonna briefly mention this because we both have people who've been playing a lot more Warhammer than us, but Warhammer 40K went off the charts. It sold over 4.5 million copies in a little over a month. It's blowing up. Have you been able to play it at all?
No, man. I have a big list of things to do, and it's new expansion World of Warcraft time, so that's where I've been at the whole time.
Yeah. It's a super fun game. It does one of those things though where it's so confusing, where it's like only a 3-person co-op, and and then there's a lot of like PvP stuff. I haven't even touched that. I'm still early on in the stages, but it is a super fun game. And Drake is a massive fan of Saber Interactive. They made World War Z, and we still play that game to this day. I think it's like when did it come out? 2018, I want to say.
That's a 2018 title, I think, yeah.
Yeah, they're still adding DLC, like free DLC to this day. It's crazy. It's so good, and the DLC is like awesome. It's actually fun. It's new levels, it's new weapons, it's new levels. It's really, really well done. And Saber is one of those companies where yes, you can upgrade and you can purchase some. There could be some in-game purchases, but you don't have to have that. You can grind it out. But it is just like really well done. And I think this game, they took a lot of what they learned in World War Z and they brought it to this. And it just really works, and especially works in like the World of Warhammer universe. Like that universe is so in depth and so expansive. It's like some people think it's just Lord of the Rings and they know everything about Middle Earth. It's like I'm now exploring all these different YouTube channels that are just Warhammer based, and the lore is insane. Like I can't believe it.
My impressions from it, we've had people like over on Geek Freaks talk about it and stuff like that, and a lot of it is this kind of, it's a simplified game in a good way, where nowadays we're in a world where everybody's trying to add DLCs and all kinds of fluff and season passes. Doesn't have that. Right. I have heard the word Xbox 360 game, as in it has a multiplayer, a single player, done. And that's so refreshing in today's gaming world, where you feel like you don't actually own any one particular game completely because it's not finished until they release more things that you have to pay for. And that's refreshing about Warhammer. And the Saber Interactive of it all, and the fact that the Warhammer has such a big loyal fan base, I think it's a world that if you don't have a fandom that you're super into, it might be one worth investing in. We also have Henry Cavill, of course, working on a series. So shout out to that fan base who's always been loyal and always been sticking by all the products. This is what you get as a good game.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, to your point too on like the non DLC. I mean, that's why everybody was praising Black Myth Wukong. They're like, it's just a game. You don't have to like buy all this stuff. Like you could buy the extra.
Sadly refreshing.
Yeah, right. They're not trying to upcharge you like it's McDonald's or something.
You're right.
You know? But yeah. Yep. So that's it. We'll have apparently there's like a bunch of nerfs that have gone on. I haven't really dug deep into it. So when Drake and Sky come back, we'll have them kind of discuss it a little bit more, and hopefully they have more information to bring to the table there. All right, we got a few trailers as well. We got Arcane Season 2 is coming out on November 9th. That's another thing where I'm like, I feel like maybe we watch the whole series and talk about it on Challenge Accepted. We'll
Absolutely.
definitely.
Have you seen Season 1?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, recently I finished it though. Like
good.
within the last couple months.
Now, are you a League of Legends player at all?
No, so I didn't know anything about the lore, and that's why it took me. Like I was like, I appreciate the animation. I'm like, this is cool world, but there's that part where it shifts, where you get the time jump, and I fell off at that point. I was like, I don't know.
Okay.
Like then you actually see Jinx in like the full form. I was like, why does everybody love Jinx? I don't get it. She's kind of cool in that first episode, but not like fully there. And then as I stuck through it, I'm like, oh, I get it. This is so good. But yeah, what was your take? Because you've played League of Legends.
Yeah. So after the time jump, people start to look familiar. Like they look like their game version. And so Riot, the company that makes League of Legends, they were recently bought out by, I believe, Tencent is the company that actually bought them, but they became a Chinese-owned company. But before then, they were just a small American studio, and they used to put out a newsletter every week or two that filled out the lore. And so most of the lore for League of Legends was just this newsletter that would go out. Me and my friend would read it and compare notes. Wow. It was something that you just wanted to read more. It reminds me very much of Overwatch in that way. So a lot of the lore that they're exploring now is from that old newsletter back in the day. And to say how small they've touched, just because there's like, maybe 4 or 5 characters from League of Legends, a game that has a roster of probably 150 characters that you can play. So to say that they haven't touched much of it is crazy. And my favorite faction is Demacia, led by Garen, my favorite character. And they are very much like the Knights, like the Lights, Paladin, that kind of thing. And their big enemy is the Noxus that uses like corruptions and demons to help out or whatever. And none of that is touched in this entire thing.
I was going to say,
so
they have like the street rat kids who like can make bombs and like they have super fists and stuff, but like
that's how big the lore is for this world. Is like literally you can go in every direction. It's like D&D almost. And so the Arcane is going to end with season 2, but doesn't mean they're going to be done with that, because they could pick up any other direction and just go that direction. But the art style in this, that shell shading that they do for, like, you see it a lot with Jinx and V and stuff. It's beautiful in this, and yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured, like, based on what I've read and everything, I'm like, man, the lore is so huge. But then it was crazy because people weren't even sure if we were going to get a season 2 for Arcane.
Right.
And then now we are getting it, and it's like, are they going to keep expanding? It seems like they could do it forever. I wonder, I'm assuming the company's on board and this is really making them stoked, but I don't know if this has helped sell games or any of that stuff. But
no, Riot, that's the thing with Riot, does not need help, because they're very much, we talked about how Warhammer is like, oh, it's a complete game. They're the opposite. They're very much on the Fortnite thing, where it's just like, hey, and boy, when we were in it, I couldn't tell you how much money I spent on League of Legends. Like, they would come out with a new character every month.
I'm sorry,
and then
bank account. Bank account.
Yeah, exactly. They come out with a new character every month, and then they had this thing, like, you could buy skins for them, but they had this bundle, like, when a new character came out, like, you could also buy its first 2 skins, too, for $20. Easy $20 every month to that company.
Yeah.
I mean, for years doing that. Yeah. So, they get you.
Man, yeah. Yeah, we talk about, like, in-game purchases, there you go. And, like, that's a masterclass of how to do it. But, yeah, it hasn't really made me want to go out and play League of Legends either, but I really liked what they did with the characters. Obviously, the voice acting cast was stellar, too. You have Haley Steinfeld in there. You have Ella Purnell from Fallout. It's, like, just insane. And then the Imagine Dragons song, right? Like, you couldn't go anywhere, I feel like, when it first came out and not hear that, wake up to a sound, dun, 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 and, like, it was going on everywhere. So, the soundtrack
and it's a well-written script, too, where, like, you really do not... Honestly, there's no story in the game of League of Legends. It's all on the outside, like, again, Overwatch, where you have to actually look for the story outside of the game itself. So there are people who are like, oh, I recognize, because, like, everybody has mains, like, if you're, like, a kid and you pick your favorites and your brothers pick your favorites.
Still do that. Cyclops
Jinx is one of mine.
Leonardo.
Yeah. Caitlyn and Jinx are my 2 ADC mains. So both of them are in this show, which is crazy good luck. And so it's fun to see them, and they're on opposite sides of the law. But yeah, that's kind of the only tie really to the video game, is that you're like, oh, there's my character doing the story that if I looked into, I could find it, but otherwise you wouldn't know it's there.
Right. Oh, man. Well done Arcane. Yeah, cool show. If you haven't checked it out, check it out before November 9th so you can get ready for season 2, because it's really freaking awesome.
Totally.
All right. Last time, we already mentioned this show in referencing some of the other things. This is complete adult animation. The first season, I was like, holy shit, they're going there. This is so freaking violent, which is Invincible. We're getting season 3, and I think they dropped the date for February 6th. That and they did it in such a meta way that you kind of get a meta thing in The Boys. Well, yeah, Invincible is very meta too. Yeah, do you want to take it away on?
Yeah, well, yeah, they kind of joked around about like, well, you got to take this break halfway through. Nobody in 4 months off.
What are you
They're joking around about how this
is
that mid-season break. Yeah, and he's like, well, there's and he's like looking through animations and stuff, animation cells or whatever. They actually did the same thing when they were doing the convention scene in the last season, where they were like, oh, then you do the faraway shots because it's cheaper, and then you do
you just like film the crowd and then you just talk over it, and that'll save you a bunch of money too, or a bunch of time. It was just so funny. And then covering your mouth. Yeah.
He's one of the most talented men in the world right now. He, of course, did Walking Dead. He did this. He's got Oblivion Song, which is a fantastic story, which I know is what's coming up next someday in the future. Yeah. But yeah, Invincible. I haven't read this comic book, and every time I watch a show, I'm like, okay, Frank, just do it. Just buy the omnibuses and get through this. But I haven't done it yet. I need to just pull the trigger.
Yeah, I haven't read it either, but it's on purpose. Like, for some reason, when it comes to The Boys or Invincible, like any Amazon show, I don't want to know. Like, it's so rare we get surprised. Like Marvel, like I pride myself on doing all the research and figuring out, okay, who's this character? When did they first appear? How do they intersect with characters we've already seen in the MCU? It's somewhat DC too, very much for Star Wars. But for the Amazon stuff, dude, I just love being a fan and not knowing where anything's going, and it always surprises me. These shows are both so shocking and so contemporary and so like they're able to describe what's going on in the world around you so well, and then you're just funny on top of it. It's like, man, I love these shows.
I will say for Invincible, I know where the story's going. Like, I know all the big beats. And even knowing all the big beats, I'm still shocked. There's still things that they're doing. They're like, oh my God, they actually went there. Yeah. I don't know how many times I've said that with The Boys and this. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I don't even know that. So it's just like, my head's about to explode, literally. What is it? The Boys joke. But every time I watch one of these episodes, man, it's just insane. So... Yep. All right. Well, we're getting Invincible back. Looks great. Can't wait to see what they do next year. I think that brings us over into reviews, and something that we're actively talking about week in and week out. And even if nobody's paying us or telling us we should talk about it, I feel like we will, which is Agatha. And we got episode 6. Again, we kind of talked about it on Challenge Accepted, so you can go back and hear instant reactions there. But I want to kind of know if you've gone back, Frank, and watched it again, is there anything you picked up a second time, or is there anything that you thought was weird or out of place, or something that was said online and you're like, holy crap, didn't realize that now?
So a lot of my analyzing, like post-watch, post-art discussion, is the community around Agatha along.
Yeah.
There's a thing that happens, especially with threads. We've noticed it's kind of a beautiful community in this way, but it has been a problem that people will be so defending of the show that they take a personal slight when you have a problem with it. We saw it a lot with Acolyte. I'm sure you remember a lot of those conversations.
Yeah, the Acolyte was just straight toxic.
It was weird in the way.
Yeah.
And that show, I mean, we've discussed it a lot, was just not that great. But anyways, with this one, we're seeing that as well, but I think it's being backed up by people actually having an investment in, let's learn more about this. Let's learn more about Billy. Let's learn more about who Rio could be. And that is really nice. I think that the community behind this show is very similar to the X-Men 97 community, where there's a lot of speculation and discussion, and it's generally pretty positive. Of course, you have that random, you know what I'm saying? But so far, what we've seen on social media has been quite encouraging for us to want to engage with people. When, say, the Acolyte, I was personally like just posting things and not even wanting to read a comment because it was so toxic one way or another. Like,
right. Yeah, you couldn't be for it.
Good.
You couldn't be against it. Like if you're for it, you're like a shill. If you're against it, you're like, oh, you're just a misogynist or whatever. And you're like, dude, I'm just trying to review this thing as just like a fan of a show. As like I would for any show. But you're right. That was like, it was hot territory. It was hot potato on the Acolyte.
And I think a lot of that I think a lot of that has to do with how this is filmed. Very much with the TV show mentality. We talked about with the show Bible and the showrunners. So it's not so crazy high budget that it needs like that movie level audience. This is just a TV show. If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But those of us who like it are just being like, how neat was that episode? And how cool is the Billy Kaplan explainer and stuff? I have suggested the show now multiple times to people saying like, don't wait, get on it right now. It's already worth your watch even at this point.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Yeah, normally you got to hedge your bets a little bit sometimes when you're recommending shows. But I think this episode included gave us so much of what we wanted. And it was, we had our theories. I think everybody kind of knew the teen was Billy, but how are you going to do it? And in the comics, it's this crazy convoluted story, and there's like Mephisto and souls and like other creatures where they're like, little finger monsters, Billy and Tommy, and it's just so crazy. It's all over the place. So I got to take something that convoluted and make it work for the show. You touched on a few things like, I say this week in and week out, but if you have a consistent showrunner, you have a consistent person who's leading the charge, like they actively dropped, and I'm speaking about Jack Schaefer, I think she stopped working on Vision Quest or like some other show to just kind of come back and work on Agatha. And it just feels very consistent with WandaVision. So if you liked it, you're getting a lot of that feel too. But also it feels personal. And in this episode, you get so much personal insight to who Billy is, starting out as William Kaplan, right? And so like the whole Jewish ceremony, are they going to try to touch on that from the comics, like his Jewish heritage? They do it, and then I feel like, again, I mean, I'm not Jewish, but it feels like they put a lot of respect and honor into the culture and then brought that into the history of this new character that we're following in Agatha.
Yeah, and I gotta throw this out there. If anybody's Jewish and having a bar mitzvah, please freaking invite me. Why am I not being invited to bar mitzvahs?
I know,
those
I want to be
bangers, man.
They look so cool, right?
I know. Oh my god. I love the chair. I love the music.
Right. I think we are actually going to a Jewish wedding next year, so I'm so excited to see how that goes.
Man, lucky.
Yeah, but also there was that show, Nobody Wants This. That was very much about like a rabbi falling in love with like a normal American heathen, basically. Yeah. She's terrible. But like, it was pretty good. So yes, we got to be invited to more Jewish ceremonies, weddings, whatever.
I think they did a great job with it, though. We talked about this in the past. I need to stop saying that, guys. Hey, guess what? We're on multiple podcasts together. If you haven't caught that from what we're saying this entire time, I keep saying that five times over. But we've talked about this already. The fact that Billy Kaplan and Maximoff, both versions, represent a lot of things for a lot of people. The LGBT community, the Jewish community, the mental health community. And I love how they're not shying away from any of that in this, because nowadays, to get a higher viewership for your show, it might be smart to try to avoid what shouldn't be a hot topic, but it is a hot topic some ways. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
they're
going for it. We've already seen him. Right, there we go. We already saw the Jewish ceremony. We saw the boyfriend. We've seen, and then even in this final thing, which is something I've thought about since our discussion about it, the fact that his powers didn't work goes back to one of the very big things about Wiccan, is that he has to be mentally focused and sound, and he has high anxiety. So sometimes that doesn't work out for him, but that's how he uses his powers. So that's something he's going to have to learn, is how to control his mental health issues.
Interesting.
So like,
I didn't think about
that's
that.
so many of the great things that people identify with Wiccan, and the MCU is like, no, we're going to bring all that in. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. It also kind of ties back to his mom too, if you think about it, right? Like, remember, I mean, she's easily able to manipulate the Avengers, but when she decides to become an Avenger, right, and Hawkeye's giving her that chat, and she's like scared, she's holding down the house, like rightfully so, there's freaking robots shooting machine guns at her or whatever, but like he kind of tells her like, hey, this is your chance, you can step up. She kind of has to conquer her own mental health struggles in that moment to kind of get out there and be a hero. It's very cool. There's like very reminiscent, as we see at the end of this episode, spoiler alert everybody, but it's like you see that he can't just bust it out. He kind of needs to feed into that rage, maybe that rage kind of focuses him too. And he's a very sweet kid, whether he's William Kaplan in the beginning or Billy Maximoff later on. And he's like actually trying to do it for the right things. And he might be truly the only witch that's there that's not after power. He's just there to find his brother. And like, he's still kind of a hero.
He is. And I do think that's something they're going to touch on, because the thing with Wiccan is that I think they're going to steer him away from Wanda. Like, Wanda will lean into the rage to become even more powerful. Of course, the Darkhold was corrupting her. We all know that. But I think with Billy, they're going to push this idea, like, you can use rage. It's kind of the Fire Nation in Avatar. You can use rage if you want to, or you could look at it as focused, breathing in comfortably, using your breath. All the stuff that you learned to help with anxiety, he'll learn to use his powers better. And it'll be kind of like this, metaphor for it.
Yeah, remember X-Men First Class too, where Charles is like talking to Magneto. He's like, you can use your pain, you can use your anger, and you can only unlock 10% of your power, or you can go deeper. And he makes it go deeper, and then he's able to turn that whole satellite dish thing.
I love that movie.
That movie's great. That part is so awesome. But it also tied to Wanda, and it's all connected, people. It's all connected.
Yeah, actually, great point.
Maybe that is her dad. Yeah. Oh, man, that's so cool. I know, like, even the detail, like, that's the other thing about this show, right? And I really love how it's so character focused. I think you brought this up in Challenge Accepted, where we see the different witches throughout the episode too that we've been on this journey with at different points in their life before they were forced to make the decision to go on the road. And we see Jennifer Kale doing makeup tutorials or whatever, her organic candle, I don't know if she's smearing it on her face or she eats it, whatever. We see Alice is still a police officer. Lilia is the one that actually puts the rune on, or what, the sigil on him. Like that's again, do you have any theories on why she might have done that?
So Jack, the showrunner, came out and said the reason that she did that is because she feared for his well-being, but we will get a more definite answer soon. She's been doing a lot of interviews after this episode, and definitely the main things like, we'll get an answer for that, we'll get an answer for this. But one of the things that Jack did clarify, by the way, is she did say that the reason that Billy doesn't recognize Lilia is because he was Kaplan at the time, and he's not Kaplan now. Mm-hmm. And he was knocked out during Alice's visit, so that's why he doesn't know those two. And he recognized Jen from, he watched her YouTube videos as Maximoff.
That's right. Yeah. He actually recognized. That's right. Yeah. It makes total sense why he wouldn't, because it was literally a different soul in his body before and after the accident. So I like it. I dig that. The other thing I was gonna say was, somebody had this theory. I'm trying to think of what you just said about Jack Schaefer, but it was, what was the thing that I was just talking about that I was bringing up?
You were talking about how it's character driven and the different witches, and how we're focusing on the different witches at different times.
Oh, the sigil.
And then we have the sigil.
Why the sigil? Yeah. Okay, so I can't come up with it. This isn't my theory, but this theory online I thought was really freaking cool. So, as we know, Lilia talked in the last episode, not episode 6, but episode 5, that her power isn't really like to talk to spirits, not divination in the sense it's time and reading people, right? So, as somebody who can read time, she would also have seen that if she had let him stay on the timeline he was on, that Wanda would have eventually found out that her son was alive. If she found out her son was alive, she wouldn't be messing with the Darkhold. If she didn't mess with the Darkhold, she wouldn't have gone through the multiverse. Multiverse of Madness wouldn't have happened. And so now she would have had the Darkhold and possibly her son, where he would have now been corrupted. So it would have been two almost Omega level powered hero, mutants, villains, whatever you want to call it, and possibly she gets Speed or Tommy Shepard. Now you have three superpowered people who are corrupted by the Darkhold. And so that might be another reason why she would, put the sigil on him, put him back on this road.
I mean, that is a pitch that to me feels like it's a little bit farther out there than what could have been. I don't know if Jack's thinking that far, but definitely possible. And now I'm thinking of what would Speed with Darkhold feel like? Yeah. Multiverse of Madness, I know. To me, Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That could have happened. I just don't think that one's possible because I'm like,
right.
there are so many things you're going past to get to that point where she's like,
Sure.
what if Lilia saw all that? Her brain would have fried. She saw that future.
I mean,
But,
she's doing fried brain things all through this show, man. Think about
yeah.
all the. I love it too when the show's done. Someone's gonna stitch together all the times Lilia kind of freaks out, and says her
Yeah.
random thing, and they're gonna put it together before whatever happens. It's gonna be so cool. You're gonna be like, she predicted everything. It's
There's
insane.
there's already that one that I keep seeing where everybody's putting the 2 times she says the lines basically, Alice, don't save Agatha, and then we see that Alice saves Agatha, and that's when she dies. So no, I'd have a feeling that they're going to repeat time because we have a lot of footage in recent trailers. We had the mid-season trailer. It showed a lot of repeated scenes from the old stuff that we've already seen, but like the dialogue's a little different than it was before. So I think maybe they're going to repeat some of that stuff.
Ooh, that's a good call. Yeah, because it does look like Agatha goes back and sees her old coven. So you're right. Maybe she has a chance to redo it, and rather than kill all of them, she's able to just set them free, and that's how. Oh my gosh, I feel like we might have just answered how she's gonna stop the Salem 7, but that's okay. We'll wait till it plays out, I guess.
I know. Luckily, we have 3 more episodes. It's not one of those short Marvel series that drive us bananas. We're actually gonna get a good show.
God, man, yeah. At least like 6 is just cruel. 9 is like a bare minimum. Remember, we used to get 24 episodes of shows. Like, what are you doing?
Oh God, yeah.
Come on, Disney Plus.
Parks and Rec stays and stuff like that when you had a good, healthy show.
Yeah. Also, I mean, every time I hear Parks and Rec, I think of this show because there's so many Parks and Rec alum attached to it. So, man, imagine Amy Poehler pops up somewhere, or Adam Scott, or Ron Swanson.
Oh God, there we go. There's a question for social media: is what character would Amy Poehler play on The Witch's Road? That would be hilarious.
Or even in Marvel, like I just want to know, how do we get Amy Poehler in Marvel? I'm on board with that.
I'm kind of thinking like, I know this is Wizard of Oz, but she would be like the Good Witch, like Gwendola, kind of like Good Witch in a bubble kind of thing. That's what I'm picturing her as.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely, just her bubbly and positive personality. I'm on board.
Exactly.
Hey, if she was at that premiere and Kevin Feige was there, like I'm sure there was an exchanging of words, as Panic at the Disco would say.
And she's already in the Disney family. She's in Inside Out, so she's already well familiar with Bob Iger and whatnot.
Damn, come on, let's go. Let's get her in somewhere.
Let's get some fan casting, guys. Get over on Joystick social media. Start, poking around. Let's go.
Let's see. All right. Anything else in this episode that we should call out before we dig out?
It's a delight. I think at this point now, Agatha is no longer pretending. I think she's fully like, all right, let's get to business. Me and Billy are going to go get our power. And she's like, I think she understands, like, sure, you could wish for your brother if that gets us to where we need to go. And Agatha's just trying to get her power back. I'm looking forward to the twists to come because I think there are many still to come. And we've seen in future episodes that we're going to go back to like old Italy. Like we're going to still, although we didn't get much of our characters in this last episode, they're still there because we're going to be going back to those storylines and filling them out.
Right. Like there's footage of Rio in like a green hood in like an old Knight's Tale type of dress. So she's out there somewhere, and it was weird how she just disappeared. So I can't wait to the.
Oh, Jack said actually she's still there. It was just the point of view of the camera. They like, oh, we didn't do that well. The point of view of the camera was like not on her, but she actually is there with the other two. Yeah, and there are rumors that it was because Aubrey Plaza was filming something else, possibly White Lotus, was filming something else, and so there was like a time problem with the schedule. But Jax says like, yeah, she's there. It was just the camera wasn't pointing at her. It's like, okay, so
because she didn't get shot out either, though, so that would be weird. You know what I mean?
Like, it probably was a scheduling problem. You gotta follow up on the Jack interview, guys. It's amazing. Jack Schaefer, she is just dropping down the heaters. Yeah, I'll find it. Yeah, it's a good point.
That sounds like a spare video right there. Everything Jack Schaefer said on the side that you didn't catch from the show.
She's loving it. She said recently on an interview too. She's like, people are asking like, oh, what are some of the rules for the Witch's Road that you want to incorporate? And she's like, the world of the Witch's Road and world building alone, it keeps me up at night thinking about all the rules and how we could use the rules and imply the rules. And I'm just like, oh, somebody who goes world building first. Yes, that is so cool.
Especially like as a D&D, what is it, like headmaster or whatever you're called, like
DM,
DM, I'm 100%. You're probably thinking about that all the time.
Of course,
it's pretty cool. It's a really well thought out show, and the characters are great. It's just freaking awesome. I dig it.
It is.
All right, another show that is taking the internet by storm. This is going to be a hot take. This is my Tom's hot take of the day. I like Agatha more than I like the Penguin, but I see why everybody loves the Penguin. It is phenomenally done. It's probably going to win some Emmys. I really do think it's going to win some Emmys.
Colin Farrell deserves it for that freaking heat in that suit, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sweating right now. I don't know if you saw it. I wiped my face off a few times. So freaking hot in this room. Can't imagine being in like 3 feet of rubber or whatever he's in, man. That's yeah. And also, just what a handsome man. But he disappears in the Penguin. I feel like I say that week in and week out. But he's just
because it needs to be mentioned every week in and week out because it is crazy. I mean, you're like, oh, that's right, it's Colin Farrell. Like while I'm watching it every time, like, oh, that's right.
Totally. He did a interview with Ollie Plum. He was like the BBC guy. Ollie Plum, like one of the best like movie TV interviewers in the world. But he got him to like say something as Oz out of the costume, and I'm like, whoa! My brain broke. I'm like, I can't piece together this voice that you're making of Oz and then your beautiful face. Like, it's just not connecting. So it was so weird, but yeah, he does deserve it. The interesting thing about this one, and again, spoiler alerts for this, but I think, Frank, you said it's okay if I kind of spoil a little bit. I'm going to try my best not to spoil too much.
I'm well aware what's going on. I just haven't actually sat down and watched it, but dude, this episode in particular like blew the internet up a little bit. Yeah.
It has a damn near perfect rating on, I think it was like a 9.8 or 9.7 on IMDb, and so everybody was like, then there was a list of like the top rated episodes ever. One was like, I think the top rated episode ever is like Breaking Bad, and then there was some Sopranos in there, and then there was some
couple Game of Thrones probably.
Oh yeah, one of Game of Thrones in there. But this show's up there. And actually one episode of Bluey too. So I don't know. It makes me feel like I know
which
Bluey.
one it is too. Actually, Bluey can get you.
Really? It's gonna break my heart.
I'm like babysitting my nephew. I'm like, I'm not crying. That show's kind of insane, actually.
My allergies are getting me, dude. Okay, yeah. So it's in that running.
Future challenge.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh man, that'd be great. But this episode actually focuses mainly on Sophia, and it's her story, right? Like we've kind of talked about it before, but she has the same name as the character that everybody's been calling her all season, the Hangman, which was a very big character from the comics who actually was going around and like hanging people, and it turns out it was her. This story kind of flips it on its head. It says, okay, what if she was blamed for all of it? And the whole time through the series, you do think it could be her, but it kind of shows that she found out something about her dad. Her dad didn't like it and basically framed her and put her through absolute hell in Arkham. And Kristen Milioti just absolutely demolishes this role. It's dark. This is a very dark episode.
It's insane to me how good Kristen is at this because, again, for a lot of us, it's How You Met Your Mother. That's where we know her from, is Ted Mosby's future wife. And when she got picked for, she's going to be joining Gotham, I'm like, oh, okay, she's going to be some side character, whatever. No, she owns that screen whenever she's on it. She's possibly the only one that's really, meeting Colin Farrell on the same stage. It's impressive. She's very good.
Yeah, and in this episode especially, because you see somebody who thinks that they're doing everything right, they're doing everything their dad wants, who he's promising her the world. Next thing you know, she kind of gets backstabbed, and everything she has to go through in Arkham. Like when you watch it, I feel like also this does so much for the world building of the Batman universe, because it shows you why nobody would ever get reformed or revised or like be able to heal going to Arkham.
Yeah.
It is just crazy house, crazy town, like real life hell. It's torturous, it's brutal, and this girl really doesn't seem to deserve it in some ways. Just gets put through absolute hell in this episode, and it's scary, it's traumatic.
Arkham is such it's an amazing thing. I was talking to a friend of mine, and it was like the best thing about the show is there's no Batman, but you hear Falcone, you hear Maroni, you hear Arkham, and you're taken right back to Gotham. And Arkham is one of those things in any comic book where it's like it's a real life problem. I'm sure that we have, throughout every country, but also like it's where Joker's at. It's the boiling pot for all the Batman's villains. That's why Arkham Asylum games are so good. It's because it's like, hey, this is where they're all at, and it's open now. To put this poor girl in there, framed into that world, and like, hey, survive with where the Riddler's at. It's with actually literally the Riddler's in this one. It's impeccable. It's such a good storytelling place to put an innocent person. She's still a Falcone.
Yeah, exactly.
In the middle of that, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well said. And this really shows you how crazy, violent, and messed up Arkham can be. And it really just strips her down. And you can kind of see when we meet her in episode 1, it makes a ton of sense of why she is the way she is. And that's, the best episodes do that. But also the way this ends. So we see that not only was it her dad, but it's the family, right? Like every good mobster show has like the family. You do it for the family. Yeah. Well, this one, the family definitely fucks her over big time.
Yeah.
And she gets her revenge. And it is very well done. It is up there with your Breaking Bads, with your Sopranos, the way she's able to kind of get her revenge. And just from like a costuming standpoint and a makeup standpoint and all these different things, like you could see there's a change in her character. There's literally no one for her to trust anymore. And she really is able to embody it. This episode was phenomenal. I've seen a lot of people just praise her for it. I don't know. It's very hard for me to like pick out anything bad other than it's just like really hard to watch. It's like, it's something like too violent.
Right, but that's kind of the good thing. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. We're going to be talking about The Shining pretty soon, and a lot of that was like designed to make you feel uncomfortable. And it's like, that's good filmmaking. And so when we get that in a TV show, how lucky are we to be able to have such a good TV show like this? And by the way, we're recording this when they're actually airing the next episode even, and I'm already kind of glancing over and seeing how good that one is getting received. That one's called, the name of that episode's Homecoming, and so I have a feeling that we're going to get Salvatore out of jail, because I'm thinking like Homecoming, out of jail, Homecoming. It's like, oh man, you're adding another big player to the field. That's good stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's two big gangsters. I mean, we know as comic book fans, there's other gangs in Gotham that you have to worry about. But as far as what the Batman has given us, it's kind of, these are the heavy hitters. And you're right. The turf war will begin, man. It's going to be great.
And at the end of episode 4, because 5 was a flashback, end of 4, Penguin and
Victor.
Oh, right? Was it Victor? They got captured by... No, it was her. She got captured by Maroni's men. The Persian mobster guys.
Right, and has that lady who has a voice like this.
Those are all Maroni's people. So, like, it's really... Now I can see Maroni, like, entering that room with them tied up or something like that. Like,
I'm trying to think of what that actress's name is. But, it's Maroni's wife. But she was also in, like, she's been in a bunch of stuff. But she was in The Punisher. And every time she's on screen, Christina's like, what, did she just smoke, like, a pack a day since she was 18 or something? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
that voice got her job, though. There's some people that are just being like, that's it.
Yeah. It's that distinguishing factor that set her apart for sure. But you're right. Good call out. And Oz has a big X on his head from both sides now, because now she's fully taken over, and Maroni's getting out probably. It's a great show, man.
It's a great show. Yeah. My only complaint is I don't like Oz Cobb. His name is Oswald Copperpot. Let's use the full name, guys.
They said it was too snooty.
That's what I love, though. Like, right? The Gotham series did a really good job with, like, because you kind of see it in this one where, like, his mom is asked to him. Right. But in the Gotham series, they did a really good job where, like, we were old wealth, but then we got kind of screwed out of our old wealth. And they kind of used the Court of Owls vibe with that. They actually used the Court of Owls in the Gotham series. But yeah, there's a lot of that, like, we were old money, and he's determined to get back to being old money again. And that's kind of his motivation. It's like mobster, but also like old Gotham stuff. And so I like how in that show he uses Oswald Cobblepot, because we were one of the families. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, I dig it. They could have just brought that over. I didn't watch that show. They could have used it again.
It was a good show.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's kind of it for tonight. Anything else you want to let everybody know before we sign off?
You know what, guys? Just make sure you head over to the social media places. Hang out with Joystick Show. Always posting up over there. Right now, before you finish listening to this episode, go to your podcast app, drop a review for Joystick, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and a like. Get those reviews out there, guys. It means so much.
Damn, gentleman and a scholar. Well done there, Fred. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Follow us on all the socials. Leave the review. Drop some, hate speech into Drake and Scott's thing for not being able to record, this last episode. But follow us on social media. Can't wait to chat with you all and tell us what you think about these episodes. So and come join us on Challenge Accepted. We're having a lot of fun over there.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Mahalo for sticking with us.
The Joystick Show.